Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Comic Book Users. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Cover alongside the living legend himself.
Hello, comic book fans. Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Geezers. I am Wild Building on Comic, and I got no jokes for you.
You got to live up to that living legend thing I just said, right? Come on.
Yeah, I got nothing. I'm copping out.
Boy, he's got no drawings anymore, no more jokes.
I got more horror comics. So
well, there, at least you got that. At least you got that. That's a good thing.
House of Mysteries, number 205.
1972.
Yes, August 72. Recently picked this up when Kirk and I hit a local con.
That's right, Fish Kill, right?
Yes.
I was remarking before we started taping, look at how cool this like black and white cover is with then the pink inside of the coffin. Very nice striking, contrast. Very different.
And the moon, too, you know.
Yeah.
So that is the first story. That is the Coffin Creature.
Of course.
By Mike Fleischer, and Jack Sparkling is the artist. And Jack did the plot also, but Mike is the writer. So this story takes place in the swamps. Okay, you got your little narrative. Yeah, your little author guy. He's always starting off every story.
He's awesome. What is he? Like you look at him, he looks like could be like an elf or a troll.
His name Kane,
something like that.
Yeah, it's Kane, right? Which all right. So you got these two guys. They're like trappers, and they're living in the swamps. This story takes place in the swamps. I think it's in Louisiana.
Of course.
So this guy falls out of the canoe. His name is Stinky. The other guy in the canoe is Pierre. And Pierre and Stinky.
Of course. Makes perfect
Stinky's
sense.
trying to get back in the boat, and this gator bites his foot. Like, he just gets away from getting his leg bit off, but he does get his foot snapped. He gets a little puncture wound. And they know about the mysteries in this swamp, about this Grim Reaper riding around on a boat. Using a boat oar called the Coffin Creature, and there's an old myth. But these guys are caught in a real bad storm. He's hurt, so Stinky thinks of this old plantation, and he's like, "Why don't we go to this old house and hold up for the night? Get out of this storm. My leg is killing me. My foot's killing me." So they get in there, and they're getting shelter from the storm. And then all of a sudden, when they get into the plantation, the comic changes because we got an advertisement. We might as well do a little flashback story of the plantation. There's this guy, I guess one of the head of households, and I guess this is in the 1800s. And he marries a showgirl, and of course she's not wealthy like he is, like his family. And somebody in his family doesn't like her. A lot of the family reject her because of her low-class status of being a showgirl. She's not of prominence, and so she gets murdered on her wedding night, and the murderer steals her jewels, but the murderer hides the jewels and buries them, and apparently never retrieved them. So there's this lost treasure, and you've got this injustice, you know. This woman's spirit has been shattered, her life's been ended, and her jewels have been stolen from her. So who do you think is the Coffin Creature?
It's a mystery. It's a house of mystery.
So Stinky's like looking at the treasure map, and he's like, this guy doesn't make any sense. All he wrote, he just drew a picture. He didn't draw a map. He just drew a picture of a stupid boat oar. I mean, how stupid is that? We'll never find this treasure. And Stinky's thinking about it, and then he's realizing, hey, boat oars are made of ash. It's very rare wood. It floats, and then he's like, hey, there's an ash tree right outside the house. So he gets the idea to go out there and start digging.
Clink, clank.
And after a couple of hours of digging, his shovel hits something, and he's like, ooh. And he finds the jewels. Behold, Stinky. Right? So he finds the jewels, and he goes back and tells Pierre, hey man, struck it rich, man, I found them. You know, the legendary jewels do exist, I found them. And Pierre's like, all right, man, and he's checking out the jewels. And he's like, this is great, man. Payday. We don't have to do any trapping anymore. We don't have to worry about selling pelts to, get a few nickels here. We're loaded. And as you can see, Stinky starts thinking about, hey, man, I did all the work. Yeah. I just handed over 50% of the profits to this lazy bum and didn't do anything. So he grabs Pierre's rifle and pow! He blasts Pierre.
You're out of here, buddy. I'm not sharing nothing
Not
with
enough treasure to go around for the two of us to make two guys rich, but enough for one, maybe, but not two. So he hops in a boat and leaves the scene, gets back on the bayou, and he comes in contact with the coffin creature, and and it turns out it's the murdered soul, this woman from the 1800s. She's the coffin creature, and she blocks his path, and she's like, even though those jewels are soaked in blood now, they're still my jewels, and she takes them from him, and then she kind of evaporates, fades away after the curse has been lifted, kind of. And then Stinky, from his infection, he fell back in the water, and he got infected his leg, and he got gangrene and shit, and then he got discovered, he kind of like lost his mind, so he spends the rest of his days in an insane asylum, and he'll tell anybody about the coffin creature if they're willing to listen. But it's a far-fetched tale, but
yeah. What do you think? Was justice served? Sal, I know you're watching. Was justice served there, Sal? Probably, right?
Then
poor Stinky.
Yeah, and all he did was
that's a great tunnel right there.
You like that?
Yeah.
Give me those jewels. Come over here.
Come on.
Come on.
Come here.
So great twisted irony fate. The guy really wasn't the one who had anything to do with the murder. He was clever to discover the jewels, but he couldn't live to enjoy them either.
Yeah.
So next story, got a little crazy advertisement.
There you go. Task Force. Cannonball.
Oh. Where are we?
There you go.
All right, so this story is called Phony Face. So there's a bunch of newspapers being distributed. So this, I guess, would take place in the early days, maybe the 1930s, the 20s. And so this guy in the bottom panel here, he's the criminal. It's his face all over the newspapers as he's bugging out, right? And he's this story is by E. Nelson Bridwell. And so you got this wanted criminal on the front page of the news, right? And he's bugging. And all of a sudden, this dude recognizes him instantly. He's like, hey! He's like, hey, how are you, dude?
That's some forehead on that guy. Holy shit. Jeez.
So this guy pulls out a gun. He's like, what do you want? He's like, I'm not going to turn you in. He's like, I'm a plastic surgeon. I can change your face. I recognize you right away. And he's like, he goes, you probably want something, huh? And he's like, come on, dude, you made $1 million robbery. Of course I did. And he's like, I suppose you want half. He's like, half will do. $500,000 will do for your operation. So come on, follow me, Oh, by the way, my name's Dr. Magog. That's M-A-G-O-G, Magog, right? And he's always got the same expression on his face, and it's starting to bug out the criminal dude, right? Just like, it's like, always has the same expression, man. So the doc brings him to this spot, and he's like, we're going to operate here? He's like, yeah, right here's no problem, man. He goes, but I don't have anesthetic properly. We're going to have to use ether, right? So as he's putting the guy under, the criminal notices that he's using both hands to hold his head down, and then he uses the other hand to administer the ether. So then he comes out of it, right? And I should do this. So he comes out of the ether, right? Takes off the bandages. The doc says, yeah, ether has a tendency to make you space out like that. Yeah, you'll think I got 3 hands. This is what he looked like when he took the bandages off. So now he can't spend the money, and he finds out he sees the mask on the floor. It's a mask. He picks it up. Now he knows why that guy always had that strange expression on his face.
Yep.
But was he an alien? He had 3 hands? They don't really explain. But he can't spend the money now.
No.
He's lost his money. But, like, why would an alien with 3 hands want to screw this guy over and have his money? Like, they don't really, like, the 3-hand part, it's like. Then you got this one page of crazy stuff over here. Kane's Corner, I think they call it. It's almost like Mad Magazine attempt, you know?
Kane's Game Room, yeah. Okay.
So we got our third story. It's over here. Yep. It's called Over the High Side. Check it out. It's a story about a biker over the high side, right? And this is Laura Schoberg is the writer, and Alan Weiss is the art, and Ralph Reese is the inks. So you got this character called Dave the Buck, and he's a biker. And as you can see in this front panel, he's got a knife to this guy's throat. This guy's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm just admiring your woman. She's hot." And he's like, "Yeah. Well, you stop that." And he tells the rest of the whole gang, he's like, "Any of you guys want to stare at my woman, come on over here, and I'll send you straight to hell." Right? So nobody comes to attack, and he's like, figures, no takers, huh? Well, let's get out of here, hon. I can't take yellow bellies. Let's get out of here, right? So they head out on the bike, right? And she's like, "Oh, that was so sweet, hon. Did you mean that? Did you really mean you take those guys on for me?"
She's like, still turned on.
Yeah, she's all like, "Yeah," and there was a bunch of dudes there, and they all were afraid of him. And he's like, "Hell, babe, for your lips, your hot lips, honey." He goes, "I take on the devil himself." He's like, "Come on, let's go to a funeral. You know, we're going to a tribute. One of my biker friends drove off a cliff, and there's a little get together at this garage. So let's take a ride on over there." So they head off into the sunset. And then all of a sudden, this dude shows up out of nowhere, another biker, and collides and kicks Dave the Buck, makes him wipe out. And Dave's all pissed. He's like, "That asshole." Luckily, they didn't get hurt. They spun out. So they get to the garage where all the bikers are paying tribute, like this funeral, like this wake for this dead guy that drove off the cliff, their friend. And down here, Dave the Buck sees that guy. He's like, "There's that asshole." And then he starts yelling at him. And then the biker dude throws a glove at him. And then Dave the Buck's like, "I don't know, I think he's challenging me to a duel." So Dave the Buck hops on his bike and starts speeding off after the guy. And the guy starts to go around a corner. And then when Dave the Buck gets around the corner, there's nothing there. He's like, he can't be that fast. And then the chick's like, check your rearview mirror. And sure enough, here comes that Hell Rider up behind Dave the Buck. So Dave the Buck jumps a fence, and the biker follows him. Right? Then Dave jumps a little canyon, a small ravine. And so does this dude. And then finally, he pulls up alongside Dave, and Dave gets this look of horror on his face. You can see that. He's like, "Ah!" And it's the devil himself.
That's a look of Sharer, actually.
Yeah, he got the look of Sharer. He goes right off a cliff, and miraculously, the chick is now on the back of the other guy's bike, and his helmet comes off, and it's the devil himself.
See that?
And she can't see his face, and she's like, "Hey, this guy's really into me." And then you got Kane down here saying, "Man, if that dude took my chick, I'd whip his ass." And then she's, I got something in my rearview mirror. It's a speck. Yeah, I think you got the same dude in your tail there, Kane.
That's right. Careful what you say and what you wish for. Right?
That's right. Careful. Others might hear you. Those in power is basically the myth of that story. Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, everybody. For Wild Bill and Pete Pardo, we'll see you soon here on Comic Book Users. Take care.